Hey, we are going to be looking at Sam Herder's an early look at his 2024 season FCS preseason top 10. This is Sam Herder. His official is at Sam Herder FCS. That's at SAMHERDER FCS. Go follow him. Go tap in. He does great work for the FCS. He does great work. I can't say anything else about it. At Sam Herder FCS. Go follow him. Hero Sports is where you can find a lot of his work as well. Hero Sports, Sam Herder, FCS reporter, greatest FCS reporter in the nation. Go follow him. Either way, he dropped his preseason top 10, and we're going to be looking at it. The first net team on this list, which I was kind of surprised about in the United Athletic Conference, is University of Central Arkansas at number 10. One of the things he referenced in his article was Will McElvain. He returns as a multi-year starting quarterback. In 2 seasons at UCA, he's thrown for 5,000 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. I think Will McElvain is originally from UNI. I think he had actually received an offer from Montana before he went to University of Central Arkansas. I kind of thought he was going to go to Montana. Thought he could have thrived at Montana, but he's had a couple of good seasons at University of Central Arkansas. They're in the United Athletic Conference, who I think, is a decent conference. Not one of the better conferences in the FCS, probably a lower tier conference in the FCS. I think they can be really competitive in that conference. Obviously, I don't think they were super good last year. They might have finished like 3rd or 4th in that conference last year. They might have finished 2nd. I don't know exactly I can't remember exactly who won that conference last year, but obviously UCA coming in at number 10 on Sam Herder's list. He's got high hopes for them. I don't really have very high hopes for them. I hope they're very good, but I'd have to reevaluate that UAC conference. Let me actually look at it right now. Actually, I was correct. Central Arkansas finished 2nd in the United Athletic Conference. Austin Peay won that conference last year with a 6-0 conference record. Central Arkansas was 4-2. Southern Utah was also 4-2. Eastern Kentucky was also 4-2. Tarleton was also 4-2. And then right behind those 4 schools was ACU, Abilene Christian, at 3-3. So honestly, a pretty competitive conference in the UAC. I think they fielded 8 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams. They filled 9 teams. So I'm really excited to see, will Austin Peay repeat? Will Southern Utah, Eastern Kentucky, Tarleton, will one of those teams step up? Central Arkansas at 4-2, but Sam Herder's got them finishing number 10 in his preseason poll. So that's very interesting. I think, judging off how they did last year, 7-4 overall, they did not make the playoffs. I think Austin Peay lost in the first round of the playoffs last year. So very interesting there. Would love to see how they end up. But, we'll see. Central Arkansas could definitely be a pretty good team to reckon with in 2024. Next on his list at number 9 is Sac State, a Big Sky team. They have Caden Bennett at quarterback as well as Conklin, their freshman from last year, who's going to be a sophomore this year. And I think Caden Bennett was a sophomore last year. So I think Caden Bennett's only going to be a junior. This whole time, I thought Caden Bennett was older than that. I thought he was like a junior or senior this last year, but I think he's only going to be a junior next year. So coming into this year. So that's going to be interesting how they play that 2 quarterback system. Obviously, I think Caden Bennett brings a level of versatility to their offense. He can run, he can pass. He's a good passer, but he can also run the ball, get you outside the tackles in terms of those scramble plays and make things happen once the play breaks down. But I think Carson Conklin he's a damn good thrower of the football. I think he showed a lot of promise last year when he got his opportunities. I think he showed that he has the ability, and they played him quite a bit. I don't know if Caden Bennett was dealing with an injury late in the season, but I remember when they played Montana, he played quite a bit. And I remember the week before, I can't remember exactly who they had played before they played Montana, but Caden Bennett had played quite a bit that week as well. So that's a team that obviously Sam Herder's got him at number 9. Sam Herder knows what he's talking about. I definitely think they could be one of the better teams in the country next year. I don't know. What did they finish? I can't remember what they finished in last year. I think they finished 8-5 last year. Obviously lost to South Dakota in the playoffs. South Dakota, a really good defensive team. That's where Sac State sometimes can lack, is on the defensive end. They lose a lot of pieces on their defense too. So that's something that they're going to have to get shored up. I think they return a lot of offensive weapons. Elijah Tau Tolliver is somebody Sam Herder mentioned in his article. Really good running back. I was really high on him. I think he was honestly dealing with some ankle injuries last year that kind of maybe not even ankle injuries, but I think he was just like their third guy. They had some pretty good running backs last year, so Tal Tolliver didn't always get a lot of touches, but I think he's a very versatile guy, can catch out of the backfield, can make guys miss, can run between the tackles, makes big plays, makes splash plays. Like when he gets the touches, he seems to make plays, but he just didn't always get a lot of touches. So Sac State at number 9, not mad at that one. Definitely think they can make some noise. Could be a sleeper in the Big Sky. Obviously, we saw them win 3 Big Sky championships in a row, so I think to call them a sleeper in the Big Sky is kind of crazy, but, they're definitely going to be making some noise out here. You got Southern Illinois at number 8. Really good defensive team. I think Sam Herder said they allowed 16.2 points per game last year, which is actually insane. I think Montana was around like 15. So I think he said they were the number 4 defense in the FCS last year, which is really, really good for them. They seem to be returning a lot of weapons, but one thing they're not returning is a quarterback. They may be returning a quarterback, but they have a quarterback spot is up for grabs, which is being battled for by DJ Williams, who was the 2021 OVC Freshman of the Year. I don't know who their other quarterback who is going to be battling for that spot, but I'm sure that Murray State transfer DJ Williams is probably leading for that spot to get that spot. Not sure what else. Not sure what other quarterbacks they have on their roster besides the Murray State transfer. I'm not very keyed into Southern Illinois all the time. I know they were a really good team last year. I know they beat, Northern Illinois. Also, they beat, I'm trying to remember. He mentioned it in the article, but they beat some pretty good teams last year. I think they might have finished 8-5 last year as well. They were a pretty good team last year. Obviously, they made it to the playoffs. They lost to Idaho in a close one, 20-17. Then Idaho ended up losing that next week to Albany. But, Southern Illinois, good squad, playing the MVFC, playing in a really tough conference. Obviously, you had South Dakota last year. You had North Dakota last year. North Dakota State wasn't one of the better teams. But then you still have to play them. You have South Dakota State. Like, all those Dakota schools are usually always good. And then you got Southern Illinois. They just lost Missouri State. So I don't know if they choose to add somebody in the MVFC or if they just keep it to where it is. I think they got like 12 or 13 in the MVFC, so minus that, whatever it is, 12, 13, now 11 or 12. But, interesting to see Southern Illinois at 8, definitely. Idaho at number 7. They lose a lot. I've talked about this a lot. Anthony Woods, the running back, gone. Hayden Hatton, gone to the draft, now on the Seahawks. Quarterback, Giovanni McCoy, gone. I don't even know where Giovanni McCoy ended up. I can't remember where he ended up, but I know their running back ended up at Utah. Giovanni McCoy, not sure where he ended up. I honestly need to check in on that. But they have another quarterback, the young quarterback, Lane. Should be pretty good this year. Jack Lane. I remember he played against Idaho State and lit them up a week before. That might have been the last game of the season, but he lit it up. Threw the ball all over the place. I think he threw for like 4 touchdowns in that game. I don't think he had a ton of yards, but was dotting them up in the air. Also, another piece that they lost was Jermaine Jackson. So losing 2 really good receivers, losing their quarterback, obviously replacing him with a freshman, soon to be sophomore, or I don't know if he actually retained his redshirt last year. I don't remember. I don't know what year this quarterback was. But QB Jack Lane, young guy, underclassman player. Defensively, I think was one of the strengths for Idaho. They were able to, they play a lot of ball control football, so it's hard to say if it's like their defense or if it's just they're not allowing the other team to get the ball because, sometimes I think their defense could be susceptible to big plays, but I think they played fairly well last year. I'm going to say their defense played fairly well last year. They fall at number 7 on Sam Herder's list. That's the second Big Sky team in here now. I think they could be pretty good in 2024. I obviously have said they're not my sleeper in the Big Sky, but I think Idaho could definitely win the Big Sky in 2024. If any year was a good time for them to win the Big Sky, it's this year. I don't think they play anybody particularly really good in the conference. I think they play Montana State, but they don't play Montana. I don't think they play Sac or UC Davis. I think they have a pretty favorable schedule this year, which, could help them out in terms of winning the conference. I think it really helps them out in terms of winning the conference. So they're no surprise to see them at 7. Their schedule is very healthy. They should be in the top 10, 15 all season long if they play well, if they play the way they should. Now, if they lay an egg and, kick the ball around a lot this year, they may not. But that 7th preseason ranking is no surprise to me. Villanova at number 6, really good defensive team in 2023. I think they were around that top 10 defensively all year last year. They're one of the teams who was able to hold South Dakota State to a lower total. Obviously, they lost in the playoffs. I think that was the quarterfinals that they played South Dakota State and they lost. Yeah, because South Dakota State played Albany. So they played Villanova in the quarterfinals and Villanova lost. But they, obviously it was a windy game. They're playing in South Dakota outdoors. Only Dakota school without an indoor stadium, which is funny in itself. But playing outdoors on that checkered field, checkered end zones at least. And Villanova played them pretty toughly throughout the game. The wind was a big factor, I think, in terms of throwing the ball in the air. But still, Villanova was able to hold them to a low total, and South Dakota State didn't roll them. But Villanova had a really strong defense in 2023. They're returning their quarterback in 2024. They're returning a couple of linemen, and they're returning a receiver as well. So they should be pretty good. I don't know too much about Villanova in the CAA. I think they shared the title last year with Richmond. And I always blank Albany, Richmond, and Villanova, I think, all shared that CAA title. They had quite a few playoff teams, though. They had Richmond, Villanova, Albany, and then they had Delaware. I think I'm missing one as well. I think they had another team make the playoff. But CAA, obviously, always a good conference. The biggest conference with 16 teams. I think they have 16. I think they might be adding North Carolina A&T. Either they added them last year or they're adding them this year. But I know North Carolina A&T, I believe, is in the CAA. I think Hampton might be in the CAA this year as well. Don't quote me on that, but the CAA is a really big conference. They play really good football. Sam Herder's got them at 6 in his preseason poll. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? South Dakota coming in at number 5. USD had a really good year last year, 10-3. I actually did a breakdown on one of their freshman DNs, who I think could be primed for a breakout season, McKees Grace. Really good young player. Had, I think, 5 sacks last year, balled out. Is looking to be better this year. But they had a really good defense last year. That's what I think they hung their hat on. They had a corner. I don't know if their corner ended up getting drafted, but they had a really good corner who was highly projected. I'm sure he's on an NFL roster right now, going through mini camp, all of that good stuff, OTAs. Yeah, man, they beat North Dakota State last year. So they might have beat North Dakota State in the regular season, but they did not beat North Dakota State in the playoffs. They got beat down by North Dakota State in the playoffs, 45-17. That's obviously the thing that hangs over everybody's head in that MVFC conference is North Dakota State. They've run the conference for a long time. They've run the FCS for a long time. I don't know why I'm just saying conference. They've run the league, the division for a long time. And obviously South Dakota sees them more than anybody other than South Dakota State, North Dakota. Like, they see them all the time. And to see them in the playoffs, they ran into them. And, at that point, North Dakota State was rolling on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. I mean, North Dakota State was very close to making it to the Natty. They ran into Montana, but South Dakota State was a good outfit in 2023. They beat Sauk State, who was also on this list in the playoffs. They had beat them pretty handedly in the second round of the playoffs in South Dakota. Vermillion, I think, is where they play in that new renovated indoor stadium. But South Dakota, no surprise to see them on here, number 5 on the list. They probably finished top 10, top 15 in the final poll last year, but pretty good squad right there. Montana State coming in at number 4. Obviously, we know Tommy Malott, Brody Grebe, their other D-end. Caden Eden, the 4th, is also another player to watch. They have their PFF leading tackle Marcus Weir returning as well. And then they have a bunch of linemen with starting experience returning as well. So pretty good squad out of Montana State. I think the biggest thing for Montana State will be Tommy Malott staying healthy. I don't think his injury really hurt them against North Dakota State. They honestly probably should have won that game had they made that PAT. We'll see. We'll never know because the PAT got blocked, and that was their biggest problem. And it typified their season for that to happen at that moment in the game because that was their problem all year. Obviously, kickers not making kicks was the problem instead of them getting blocked. But, for them to have a kick get blocked to end their season is just very on par for what that season was last year. Now, if they get that settled up, I think the biggest thing for them is to protect Tommy Malott. He is the gold. He is what is going to take you guys as far as you guys are going to go. If he's healthy, he can take y'all very far. If he's hurt, your season might be pretty rough. I don't know. He's the whole key. Offensively, he's the key because he makes the defense react to him. He can run, he can throw, but that triple zone read option is what he's dangerous in, where he has the option to hand it, where he has the option to pull it and run it. He has the option to pull it and pass it to the tight end in the flat, or receiver in the flat, whoever's in the flat. That is the bread and butter of their offense. That is the bread and butter of what makes Tommy Mellott so dangerous to me. I would not be running him on those power quarterback runs a lot. That is why you had Sean Chambers, who was also hurt last year. I don't know. Tommy Mellott needs to be used in the run game very much less, or very smarter on the edges, if anything, if you're using him in the run game. Protect him, and you guys can go very far. Montana State coming in at number 4 on this list. I think that's no surprise. They returned some good players on defense. They have a receiver who actually didn't get to play last year, Lanyata Alexander, who had to sit out a year because of transfer rules, which probably wouldn't stand this year. It's honestly ridiculous that he had to sit out last year, but he's going to be up this year, and it's going to be very exciting to see what he's able to accomplish. But Montana State at number 4. Going to be exciting to see what Montana State as a whole is going to be able to accomplish. Them number 4 at the preseason poll. Going to be should be a pretty good squad in 2024. Should be a pretty good squad. I hope. For the Big Sky's sake, I hope they're good in 2024. Next, coming in, you got Montana at number 3. Obviously, they're returning the big question for Montana is the quarterback position. The big question for Montana coming into 2024 is the quarterback position. Who is going to be throwing the ball around for them? What are they going to look like on that side of the football? That is the big question that everybody has. They got the receivers. They got the running backs. All 3 of their running backs look really good. Xavier obviously moving a receiver. What is he going to look like a receiver? That adds another weapon. You got Cole Grossman coming back. They got a lot of weapons offensively, but who's going to be throwing them the football? Is it going to be Logan Fife? Is it going to be a Kiali'i Ayat? Who does that? Then on the defensive side of things, I've said it, you lost Cale Edwards now, and now you've also lost Alex Gubner. Now, Cale Edwards wasn't a huge contributor. I think he had 4 sacks last year, maybe 5 sacks last year, but he split time. He wasn't always the number 1 guy. You got Hayden Harris. You got Pat Hayden, who's now the D tackle, probably that zero technique in the middle of that defense. You got Riley Wilson. You got some pieces on the back end, Ryder Meyer. You have Trevin Gradney, obviously. You got a lot of pieces on the defense. What is it going to look like? Linebacker position is another big question mark. But D tackle and linebacker is where it comes down to me for the Montana defense. But Montana should be pretty good. I'm not surprised to see them at number 3. That's now, I think, the 4th Big Sky team in here. What is that? Montana State, Idaho, and Sac State. So now the 4th Big Sky team in there. And then, so Montana, I think they're going to be pretty good. 3rd in the preseason poll is no surprise to me. I think, obviously, the preseason poll is voted on. I think there's a media one and a coaches one. So this is what Sam predicts it to be. I think Montana should be right around there. They return a lot of pieces. Offensive line should be pretty good. Offensive weapons are obviously good. You got defensive weapons. I mean, I don't know if they're supposed to be called weapons, but you have guys on defense who make plays. And we'll see how they're able to put it together. They got some losing a coach and Coach Bradford to the NFL. But, you got Tim Houck, who has a ton of experience splitting that with Coach Cooper, I believe, on the defensive end of things. But it's going to be good. Got Scott Linehan coming in to help Coach Pease potentially. I think Coach Pease did a great job calling the offense last year, but we'll see what it looks like this year. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see what it all looks like. I'm excited. Number 2, NDSU, who I think is going to be the team to beat in 24. I've said it all offseason, and I will continue to say it. NDSU is going to be a problem. Cam Miller was on a heater towards the end of the season. Obviously, he ran into a buzzsaw, which was Montana in Waugh Grizz, against that Montana defense. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to win in Montana. It's hard to win in Waugh Grizz Stadium. But you got Cam Miller, Cole Payton, the other quarterback, the running quarterback, who made some plays against Montana, made some plays against South Dakota, made plays all year. He's a problem. Cam Miller with his arm is a problem. Cole Payton with his legs is a problem. Cole Wisnowski, who I think is honestly ranked top 150 on some draft boards going into the next season, had 8 interceptions last year at the safety position, is an absolute ball hawk, is returning to North Dakota State to make plays once again. I'm sure we'll see him on Sunday making plays, picking off passes. He's a great player. He's a great player. He returns for that defense. They also have another D lineman returning who played a lot of snaps last year, led the nation, I think, in fumble recovery. So they got some pieces defensively, got some pieces offensively that are returning. I think they're going to be a good outfit. They just lost their receiver, Eli Green, to transfer. We will see where he ends up. I know he probably should be getting a lot of P5 FBS attention. from a lot of schools at the FBS level, P4 level. We'll see where he lands at, but, North Dakota State, no surprise to see them on there. I think they're going to be the team to beat. Sam Herder disagrees with me, though, because obviously the number one squad in the preseason poll is going to be the back-to-back national champions, who Sam says is returning nearly 30 seniors, which is absolutely ridiculous. 30 seniors, that's a lot. Now, what level of experience those seniors have is yet to be determined, but 30 seniors nonetheless is a lot. They have their quarterback coming back, Mark Gronowski, back-to-back national champion, 37-3 as a starter. Sam likes to point out that they lost one game because he got hurt in 2021 to Sam Houston State. He might be a 3-time national champion had that not happened. I am one who fully believes South Dakota State, because that was a tight game in itself. Sam Houston State scored on a last-minute touch. That game was great. First off, that 2021 national championship against South Dakota State and Sam Houston State was a freaking great game. I'm mad Montana didn't play that year. Obviously, that would have been me. I would have been playing that year. I wish the Big Sky would have played in that spring. But, man, that was a great national championship game. Mark Gronowski might be a 3-time national champion had that not happened. Had he not got hurt. I think he hurt his knee in that game, but, sheesh. What a game. What a career it's been for Mark Gronowski. Obviously, he's the main guy you think of when you think about that team. They got some offensive line return, 2 starters, and Evan Bernstein and Gus Miller. FCS center, the Remington Award winner. They got a transfer, Sam Hagan, guard. He started on a good North Dakota. I think they just got him a couple weeks ago. Started on North Dakota's line last year, so good player out of him. But obviously, I think it's Mark Gronowski is the key. I think they have a lot to replace with the Yankee brothers leaving. They had a tight end leave as well, so that they had Isaiah Davis. Offensively, the weapons department, receiver, running back, tight end, they got some answers. They got some questions to answer. I think defensively, they lost defensive weapons too. They lost a lot of players. And that's my thing is Sam wants to point to the seniors that they're bringing up, which I respect. But how much experience do those seniors have? And also, what about the weapons offensively? You're losing 2 receivers. You're losing a tight end. You lost your all-American, do-everything running back. Defensively, lose some linebackers, lose some defensive backs. I think they might have lost some safeties. I don't know. But they're losing pieces all over the place. They return pieces, but they're losing pieces. So what are they going to look like? I don't think they're going to be the best team in the MVFC. Obviously, number 1 in the preseason poll. So this is predicting where teams will be ranked in the preseason before any games have been played. So this is all just me talking to myself, really. But I don't know. What do you guys think about all this? What do you guys think about where these teams are ranked? Let's go back down it. You got UCA at 10, Sac State, Central Arkansas at 10, Sac State at 9, Southern Illinois at 8, Idaho at 7, Villanova at 6, South Dakota at 5, Montana State at 4, Montana at 3, North Dakota State at 2, and South Dakota State at 1. What do you guys think about where these teams, Sam thinks these teams will be ranked in the preseason? I gave you my thoughts. What do you guys think? We will move.